So this is design notes on the area around the view. Okay, here we go. First of all, clean up all the junk around here. Cut down all the Haracina that there is. That's a plant that grows really well here but is useless, and it might as well be something prettier. I share this video so that people can get an idea of design thinking. It's also a way for me to remember and communicate what I want to do in this area. This is one of two areas on the Mesa. The Mesa is the largest flat area we have here. This is one of two areas where the water flows off of the Mesa. It goes down into the barranca over there, far away. We'll skip that side because we're just looking at the view side at the moment. On this side, when it rains a lot, water flows down this little road over here, the main road, and it tends to want to flow down into this gully. And that's where it historically went to. And that's fine for what it was. I want to actually keep it from going there because it's going to rapidly go downhill. We generally want to keep water higher up. Now, on this end of the Mesa, I could raise up this whole part of the Mesa and kind of keep water on the Mesa. And that's cool. That's not a bad idea. But I have a lot of plans up here for buildings I'm going to put in, which is going to increase extra rainflow that's not soaking into the earth. We do have roads up here and trails. So instead of trying to keep the water on this side of the Mesa, I have a whole different strategy for the other side. I'm going to let it go down this road. This is a path here. And I'm going to channel it into an area that's called Alicante. It's between the view and the lodge. And that's an area where I want to terrace a lot, and I want special fruit trees, and I'm converting it from pine forest into a mixed forest, which I'm doing in a lot of places. But in this case, I'm going to plant more exotics, things like, an orchard of fruit trees and things. And I'm going to do a lot of hand terracing. And so I actually want more water in there. Also, as it flows down there, I'm going to be raising the bottom of Alicante, and the water is not going to get lost in any case. So I'm going to help it soak in over there. And that keeps it from going down this gully. So that means improving this section of road that goes to a spot called Bad Bend, because it's a bad bend in the road, and getting the water to go over there. So that's totally doable. What should happen there is that it should be widened out. Perhaps, this is also a target for a good place to pave initially, because Bad Bend is hard to walk through because there's rocks in there and shit. So widen it, pave it, and then angle the road such that no matter how much water comes down, it all flows into Alicante. It flows off to the uphill side into a pond. That's totally doable. And then it will sink into the ground, and in the ground is the best place to store water. I forget to mention that sometimes when I talk about cisterns and water storage. But, building water storage is expensive. So get the water to go into the ground and not go rapidly downhill flowing. So this is a case where we'll let it go downhill briefly to put it into a better spot. I've done other videos about the View Park over here, so we'll skip that, but it's going to be really magical and cool. We have a problem here in this grove. This is a grove near the view. It's the only young grove, mixed grove, right in this spot. And this was here when I got here 15 years ago, but it was much smaller trees. It had been cut at some point. The problem is they're all growing, and they're really tight together. This gets into forestry and forestry management stuff. And then up from that, there's a hill, and I want the view off of that. So I actually don't want really big trees in here blocking that view. Now, we've got all these baby trees in here. They're all small, right? Now, you'd think then that they would compete with each other and retard their growth. And that sounds like a neat idea, because then maybe they wouldn't grow so big. It won't work that way. What's going to happen is that some of them are growing more than others, and eventually the smaller ones will die. And then you'll have a stand of trees where you have some really big trees, and it will be less dense. I like the density of it. It's kind of magical and cool. Like, I already have a clearing in there. There could be a little circle of seats, maybe even a fire pit, a discussion place, kind of hidden. I could plant a cedar hedge along here or bamboo, and I could circle it with things that make it kind of hidden more, because I like the way it is, but it's not going to stay the way it is. So what can I do? Well, I could thin it. That's a common thing you could do, but again, some of those will just grow high then. I'm just encouraging what will end up happening anyway. Don't want to. The solution here is to top the trees off. Top them off so that they grow horizontally at a lower level. That way I'm protecting my view, and I'm still getting the density. We'll still have a lot of shade because then we'll be encouraging horizontal branches. Some of the trees will probably still die off due to competition, because even though it's not going up, we're still getting, mass up there. But we can carefully trim those trees how we wish. And we can be maximizing shade, and this space will evolve for use how it will. We don't have to know the end goal. But the idea is a magic little grove of trees that doesn't block the view above it. We should probably name that grove. Naming is actually really important because we can't talk about things. I'm just saying a grove near the view. Well, how are we going to identify that? This should be on a map. And I have names, a big list of possible names. I tend to think up really esoteric names for things, like obscure references to things, and that doesn't always work. It has to be a name that sticks in people's heads somehow, and also we need to check it in English and Spanish so that it's very easy for both language speakers to use and understand. So cognates are really good, Latin-based is really good. Also, we shouldn't have things like enye's and tildes and accents in the name, because those are not convenient for people. They're harder to type, basically, and just good to avoid those. We could still go with esoteric, but we should really make it so the name actually functions, because I've named things, I've named places things that, words that people don't understand, and it doesn't help. It's not a good enough name. It doesn't functionally work. Let's get back on task here. So over here, just to the north of the little grove, we have kind of a unclear space. Its use is unclear. If we're going to have a park on this side, I think we could have semi-plaza-like place to wander in here. Right now there is a swing here. Nobody uses that swing because you can't even see it, and there's no trail to it. So here's a case where, again, we'll want to keep the trees short, but there's less trees here in general. It's all oaks, a few madrones, and looks like there's a hawthorn over there. And then a couple really big pines that I want to keep for a while, at least to collect seeds. This pine will probably come down because it also blocks a view that I like, but there's no rush, for that. Anyway, this whole area can get cleared out on the bottom. Ultimately, we'll all get dug out and leveled around the trees. We can use that dirt elsewhere. We've got plenty of places to fill in, or we, could use some of the dirt for building supplies. Although usually scraping the dirt off the top doesn't give you good dirt for building. That would open up a really nice kind of plaza-like area, since we have so much area over here that's dense park. I'm doing that on purpose. I'm making dense park right close to the view area because I want that. It's a good place to have a lot of green. This could be a spot where people could walk almost anywhere below it, as opposed to where I'm over here in the park. I'm making it so there's little trails and stuff. This could also be a good spot for camping then. It's just more open. Also, there could be a trail that goes up this hill here. So this could be a good spot for that. There's already a road over there, but having access up this hill might be a good idea. Again, we don't have to know the entire future of this location for good design. We have to be very careful about doing anything that limits our options. So even, for example, I don't want someone to come in here and be helpful with a machete by cutting all the branches on the oak trees so there's more space below them. I definitely do not want that. And so people have to absolutely be controlled to not destroy opportunities of the future. So if we cannot do something, don't do it. Permaculture principle 0, do nothing. Which I've done a lot of. I have so much to do that doing nothing for most projects is the only thing I can do. But it's especially important with living systems because, we're talking about decades of development here, and just lots of exciting things that the biology of the place, the trees are doing in particular, that we don't just want to come in and destroy the work that they're doing, because they're also enriching the soil and all that. Anyway, so that's the plan for this area. We will skip the grove over there. There's a magic grove that is probably going to, I always think of it as a kid's area. It just seems so magical. But we'll skip that. We'll skip Nexus, which is a kind of a plaza-like spot over there. There's a volleyball court. And we'll head back over here and think more about the area near the view. There's a structure called the Rooster House I'll show you. And I am confused about how that will evolve. There's a really difficult problem of, I want to build these larger, excellent structures, but I don't have the resources to do it. But at minimum, then I need to leave the space to do those things. I need to not mess them up. So this is the area where the water was going down into that gully. The gully is called the ladder, by the way. The nest is above the ladder. It's a nice little spot. So the question then is, what happens right in here? I think at one point I had a sign here that named this place Gestalt. I named it Gestalt because it's near the internet and it's a potentially good place for group meetings and things. There's a fire pit over here. Anyway, this all needs to get developed. My plan long term is that this be buildings right in here. It's a good spot for buildings. It would block access to the land over there. It's sloped in a way that I don't want the water to go on, so we could dig it up and put buildings and stuff. I always hesitate to cut any trees, and they come in so fast that now I like these trees a lot. So I might put my building further that way on the slope. Anytime we can put a building on a slope, it's better. This is a moderate slope. If we have enough slope so that we have two main floors, that's always best. If your second floor is a main floor on one side, and your first floor is the lower main floor that goes out to another, you've got two ground floors. That's awesome. It's a big win. That needs a certain amount of slope, though. On the other hand, even if there's not enough slope, sometimes it's nice to have to go up into a building because it keeps the building cleaner. So maybe we, this is tricky. Maybe we dig in part way, because this is just not slopey enough as much as it should be. And then we have a ramp up to entry points on a building, and that limits access, which is, these are kind of barrier buildings, and so limiting access points might be good, and also keeps them cleaner, because I've got a building over here where the entry is at ground floor, and it gets really dusty, and stuff gets tracked in. It's just impossible to keep it clean. It's just a dusty, dirty building. And we have to design buildings so that they are easier to clean. Because if we design them right, then we've just saved thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of hours of labor, and we live healthier, comfier, more wonderful lives. This is the Doghouse, that structure I was referring to. Did I call it the Rooster House earlier? The Rooster House is a different place. Same type of structure. This is an experiment. I'm no longer certain that these concrete poles are thick enough to support much weight. So I'm thinking actually to leave this kind of open. For the immediate needs, we should clean it up, put some sawdust in there, and people can camp under it. I need to talk to an engineer and see if I can put a partial upper floor on it. That would be useful. But what I like about it is there could be a fire pit out here under the roof. And that's absolutely vital in the rainy season, because you can't just have a fire outside, but you want to be outside. So that's what we need. And we could also do a few things to build a fire pit that channeled smoke up a little bit better. Around the edge of this building, there's some oak trees growing up really fast. These were much smaller before, but when you cut some trees, then the other trees shoot up. Anyway, these have to be cut, probably. I want to do rain capture off this roof. It's not a bad roof. It's onduline. It's a noisy roof when there's rain, so it's not the best roof in the world. But what I want to do is put buildings around this. Those would be like one story, or perhaps taller in some cases. Buildings. There's an open space right here that could go to a building over there. I want to maybe put a store here. I'm not really sure what the use will be. I'm almost tempted to put one story all around it and have part of it be earth roof, part of it be sitting area up there, and that would also improve rain capture. This is has two slopes on the roof, so the rain's coming this way. All that rain's going to fall down here. So if we had a really clean like roof up there that you could use for people too, but I got swept a lot and didn't have a lot of leaves falling on it. Leaves are going to fall from this big oak over here. Then you could do all rain capture on that. So you get all the rain from this side of that building onto here, and then all the rain from this plaza, and then you store it somewhere downslope, and everything works out. But anyway, that's a whole puzzle. That's the doghouse. I don't know what to do with it. I'm not an architect. I just pretend I am. And I need to work with actual architects. And I need to work with engineers, because sometimes I have engineering questions and architects give me answers that I'm not comfortable with. I need real answers from like structural engineers, you know. And I think about earthquakes and stuff. That's another thing. Is my original plan was to infill this building with natural materials and all that, and I just don't know about the weight issues. Anyway, there's so much stuff there. First other step for this area is just clean it up. You can't even walk through here. There's branches here. As far as the slope goes, if my long-term plan is to put a building right across here, then I shouldn't bother planting a lot of stuff. All these trees are going to die anyway. So I'll just let them grow for now, and then we'll cut them down for firewood or art later. There's a lot of things that affect each other. And that's why I'm often confused, is because there's so many factors that influence a decision. But luckily I have the luxury of going really slow. Down here is Nest. That's a really great area. Actually, there's an electrical cable that runs from the view to the lodge. Every point along that electrical cable that's near the view is a spot we could run internet to, because internet's here at the view. And we could run the internet through the electrical cables. There's little boxes you can use for that. And then I could have like internet at the Rooster House. It would be nice to have a structure down the Nest, but I've also thought about putting a building going down the ladder. That's another reason to have the ladder be drier and have the water go somewhere else. And that would be dug into the gully there and be a series of plazas on top of it. Nest needs to all get dug out. This is a huge amount of manual labor, just digging. When people come here, some of them think they want to help out by doing physical work. And for those that can really do it, I should test them and see if they can really do it. See if they're really into it. And if they are, let them do it. That's great. I need that kind of work. But the easier thing to do is to just have that be paid labor for local people, because they're good at it. They have the attention span and the physical endurance to actually get something done. So I could put some locals on that and get it dug out in a few weeks with a small team, or I could take a year with a team of volunteers, because I don't know. But volunteers that think they can work hard with physical stuff need to be tested, not just stand around talking, or injure their hands because they've never done that kind of work. So I don't want to dig it out. The reason to do that is because it would be more useful. The way it's going to get dug out is around the trees. Some people have asked me if that's going to kill the tree. No, it doesn't kill the tree. I've experimented with it. It's oaks. They're really tough. A pine might die that way. You could kill a madrone that way, potentially. Anyway, but the idea there is to have this really flat area that already has a lot of shade going on. It's really beautiful. So dig it out, plant it, and put a few roofs in there. Comfort station-like stuff. Probably earth roofs to be kind of invisible and hidden, and have internet in there and maybe camping a little bit. I'm not sure. But the point is to leave it be mostly trees and then figure out how we can fit into that. I've got a lot of spots where I want to try and do that, and that's a skill set we need to learn. This gets into the literal example of how do we live in the forest without destroying it. In this case, literally right next to the tree trunks, all around you, and figure out how can we live in that. I mentioned earth roofs just because they're prettier. You can't capture water off of those. but they're awfully nice. The rain, you don't hear the rain under them. They're so pretty. And also we could figure out how to make roofs that kind of wind with curves among that area, in that area, and then leave a lot of open space, and then maybe some hut-like stuff that's more protected. I don't know. There should be at least one protected area for the host of that area to sleep. There should be a little kitchen in there. Anyway, that's its own trip. That's the nest. The other area next to the view is the view. In fact, the view, Cabana here, should be renamed to something else. It's near the view, but it's not the actual view. Let's walk over there and take a look. Oh, as we walk past what used to be a fire pit, is now growing in. It has baby pines in it. This could be a really great spot for a outdoor broadcastable fire pit. A fire pit where we have some lighting, because just straight firelight is not powerful enough, unless the fire is really huge and too hot and you're not near it. It doesn't light people's faces very well. And I want to broadcast campfire conversations. So that means we have a very controlled, pleasant campfire, seating around it, and we have lighting that the camera doesn't see very well, so raised and soft, and then a wall around it of cob. We started that wall here, and seating, maybe cob bench, or maybe we go with more movable seating, like metal chairs might be really good. Movable is very good. And then ways to have the camera angles such that perhaps people are sitting in kind of a U, and then you can focus on somebody for what they say, and then somebody else for what they say, and somebody else for what they say, and you can get this really intimate campfire conversation. The wall around it could be covered in vines, ideally, so it was very green. But the key there is it is protecting against wind. That wind is going to mess up your audio. It also causes smoke to blow everywhere. We want a really nice, hot fire where the smoke goes up and the heat remains around it. It could be that we, in order to make it less smoky, that we use charcoal in it. That we have charcoal and some wood, or we have very, very dry wood. Anyway, we want to experiment because there's, campfires are annoying if you get the smoke always following you around and annoying you. And, I'm a beautiful man, so the smoke does follow me. That cracked me up. Here's some tiles here that used to be up on this roof. These tiles need to go up on top of something. They need to get used. And they need to get used in a place that's low because you have to adjust tiles a lot. Tiles are not good roofing for living spaces, but they're fine for outdoor spaces and barbecues and houses for burrows and animals or spaces to camp under. So they have uses and they should be put to use. We have one composting toilet in here. It's small, and that should be, we need a bigger, better composting toilet over here somewhere, and that's probably a priority. It needs to be maybe the best one, like the white tiled super loo that I keep imagining, and it should have a way to wash your hands, and it should have at least 2 open seats for pooing in. So if you have to poo, you don't have to wait for anyone ever. That means 4 total seats, 2 of them in use. You could think of more, but that's fine. We're getting rid of a lot of the men out of there by having stand-up pee gardens. And we also want spots for women to pee. So we also need a pee garden for sitting down. So that's a priority. Where to put that? Geez, I don't know. Somewhere in here, but I don't want to conflict with the idea of the larger building. If we know where the larger building is going to go, we could build a toilet and a bodega, that's a storehouse, as the first part of it. Kind of build a comfort station with a plan to know where the building was going to go after that. Need to fix the roof up here because a storm blew off part of it, and now it's leaking inside. Just maintaining this space is astoundingly difficult. This is an awesome spot. If you've seen my videos much, then you've seen it before. It's a porch off of the view. Any building we build should have very large porches around it. Porches can serve as public spaces, and we want lots of outdoor public spaces that are comfortable. Lots and lots, because we want to support outdoor living. Let's get out of buildings. I was writing about that this morning as I was sitting out here. That we need to make things comfortable here. Things are very uncomfortable. I live here. I'm not comfortable. I'm not happy living here if I'm not comfortable. So we need better clothing, better architecture for buildings, but one of the big wins in this climate is to improve our outdoor spaces. This particular space, outside of the View Cabana, needs a wood-fired stove for making tea and stuff. It has a dirt floor right now, which I tried to make a resin floor. I tried to cover it in resin, pine resin, because we've had success in cabanas with that, but those are low traffic and light use. This is a heavy use area, and the dogs are here a lot, so it just gets dug up and it's a big dusty mess. This needs to become concrete. Oh, but that doesn't sound nice. Don't use concrete. Shut up, hippie. This needs to be concrete. It's just so dirty right here, it's ridiculous. This is a great spot to sit outside for internet right now. I actually want to set up other internet spaces because people tend to sit out here on the internet and then talk a lot. And this is actually where I'm living a lot of the time, and then I have to listen to them talk. And we want to design things so that people don't create audio disturbances for others, in particular me. That's another reason to have sitting areas that are further out. We want to develop outdoor areas that are very separated so that people can get away from other people and have some privacy and calm. Because, you know, I want this place to sound like a monastery most of the time. Also, anyone using a computer out here should be using headphones if they want to play any audio. Even headphones can be annoying because sometimes you can hear when someone's using headphones. Anyway, we'll get internet out of here. There's a shitty kitchen in here that's shitty on purpose because there's almost no water here. A larger building would really help around here. Perhaps, you know, and just a large building with rain capture would really help. That's a whole different problem. Up on the hill over here, I would love to build like a basketball court-sized huge roof, which if I did it would seem silly because it's so out of the way, and then you wonder, will anyone ever use it? But that would be capturing water way up above the mesa and could provide enough water. You can do calculations based on rainfall, how much water is produced for this whole entire area. I mean, each building can do its own, but like in this building, you know, I do mediocre rain capture into this one cistern, and that cistern or tank or whatever has to last for the entire year. Now this year I almost made it through the whole dry season, and I didn't quite because I did accidentally waste some water by leaving a hose open. Don't mess up. So anyway, these buildings have to be designed with water in mind. That's absolutely critical. Alright, so I've got my coffee here. So, more comfortable spaces. The trees are growing quickly, and the oaks. And so we want to, like right in here's a really nice shady spot. That should have a metal furniture. We want to become experts at outdoor furniture. We can use wood. It works. We need to treat the posts, and then it'll last for a while. And it's not a bad option, actually. But I really am a fan of the metal furniture as well. You can buy that across the lake. And it does last a very long time. So we should do both. We have wood, you know, but we have to make wooden furniture so it lasts a long time. And the seats can be benches, I suppose. I don't know, we should be experts at that. We should really know how to make really excellent outdoor wooden furniture. Over here in front of the view, where you have a view of the lake, I'm going to cut down a couple trees over here. Those are oaks. I rarely cut down oaks. I want to cut those down to open up this massively wonderful view of the lake from right here. You know, I sacrifice a few trees, and forever I'll have a wonderful view. The trees won't even die. They'll just grow up, but they'll be shorter. Because when you cut most oaks, then little stuff comes off. It's like coppicing or pollarding. You get little branches that grow up off of it. I'll leave this one here. It's nice. This area is pretty cool. They've done yoga here. People have come and done yoga. I had a fire pit here, but this is a dumb area for a fire pit, since usually a fire pit's for nighttime use, and you can see lights of the lake. Well, you will be able to see lights of the lake, but you might as well put a fire in a spot where you don't have a view and use the view spots for something else. So this fire pit is just a little mound of cob there. We can rip that out of there. This whole area tends to grow over, and it has lots of branches and shit. What we should do here is cover it in sawdust. Level it. Maybe raise it up a little bit, although if we keep dumping sawdust on it, it will raise up by itself. And I'm talking a lot of sawdust. I'm talking van loads, like 6 to 8 van loads full of sawdust here, or I can pay a guy with a big truck to bring in some more. And the reason for that is to keep the other grasses down, because left on its own, this is all just going to fill in. Even with the use it's had, the plants are fairly under control because people's feet are very strong. And this is like a tiny plaza. So people can stomp down and they can destroy the land. That's great in this one spot. We'll just fill it with sawdust and it'll work out just fine. There is a garden between here and the view. This is a cactus garden, has a few other things. We should just improve that. We should pull this old firewood crap out of here and burn it. It's just ugly. We can continue to develop that garden, put in more plants, put in some vines on these oaks. Then we'll have nice flowers in the trees and stuff. But this is a really nice spot. There's no other spot quite like this, but it could be improved. So over here there's a park that had a trail through it. The trail needs to be improved. There's a safety hazard, 2 safety hazards on this trail that need to be fixed, where you could fall off of something at nighttime, break something. So until the safety hazards are fixed, I don't want to improve the trail. This already has very large, dense oaks, and I'm going to be leaving this forest here. So this is an excellent one to make sitting spots in it, because the other park over here is going to take, another decade or so to develop. I mean, it'll still be cool before that, but this is dense shade right near the view, kind of like Nest is over there. And also has some views of the lake, kind of pocket views. There's a lot of trees in the way. So that's a great park to develop as well. We could also, as we clear out the underbrush and level it out in some spots, we could plant a lot of pretty plants in there and have it be a fairly dramatic park quite quickly. We did already put in some a line of nopales, cactus pads, and those are just doing great. They love this spot. Still haven't made it down to the actual view. Let's walk down there. There is a trail that goes down to a view of the lake. Now, like I said, I'm going to improve the view up here, but this is kind of a cute little spot down there. I've got a trail that zigzags down to it. It zigzags at a very low slope. I want to improve that and make it really wide. Now, you'll notice another trail that goes straight down the slope. That's called desire line, and it's because you can lay out your trails, but people are going to walk where they want. In fact, if you design some spaces, what you should do is not even put a trail in and just see where people walk and then put your walkway there, because that's where they want the walkway to be. Or they'll just trample the whole area. We definitely want trails because feet are weapons and they compact the soil and they make it so other things can't grow. Now, this is a weird case where I want to use the desire line path. That's why it's there, because I use it. But I want old people and people with mobility problems to be able to use the less slopey one. And there's things that shoot off from the slopey one anyway. It doesn't hurt to have the slopey trail. The solution for this, I think, and I've never done this before and I haven't seen it done. There's probably a name for it. Maybe architects know about this. But I want to widen and improve the zigzag trail, the slopey trail, and then between the spots on the slope put in stairways that go down. So the desire line trail, I want here to put stairs in, because I'm a mobile guy who doesn't want to fucking walk on the boring long zigzag. So that's the solution. Slopey trail mixed with stairs. That should have a cooler name. Slopey Stair Trail. I don't know. Anyway, down here, you might have seen this in videos too. We need to improve this trail that goes off to the toilet, although we'll build a better toilet elsewhere. There's a dugout spot. There's an oven over here. This was the first oven we built. It's never used. Looks like animals live in there. But it's really cool because it's just a barrel. And it was the first experiment I had with this theory, and it worked out great. This could be cleaned up and used. There's a grill over here. This could be cleaned up and used. The idea is to make a spot down here to make tea and be able to heat up a little bit of food. Because this is a great spot in the morning for the sun. The sunrise comes up over there, right over the lake. It's all cloudy down there right now. So down in town, they're still under the clouds. We're up here in the sun. I love living up in the hill a little bit. This view is right above the biggest slope that there is, which is why we get this view. Anything above a slope is a good spot to designate as view location. And that should all be for public use. We don't want to put private use stuff at the best view locations. And I have lots of thoughts about that, and you can probably see examples in your own city where all the best views are these big houses with low density. Anyway, we need to keep digging on a trail to go that direction. There's actually a spot over there where I want to dig in the entire slope and put in a totally dug in plaza and building. In this area, we're going to keep digging into this slope, and we can kind of do experiments. The cool thing is that we know we're going to dig all this out, so we can do things like make these ovens and stoves and everything, and dig a building out rather than build a building up. And it could be that above that we end up putting a little plaza, that we put actually a roof right here. Although it's more likely we'll kind of dig around these trees and just go that direction. But it's possible that there could be kind of rooms in there that you can't see from above, but there could be like a little comfortable fire spot and everything. The priority is definitely that we need a way to do coffee and tea down here, because I want to get people out of bed in the morning, going to a place that's comfortable. Longer term, this could even all get dug down. We could have solar hot water heaters below the building and double pane windows along here, so that the early morning sun pours into the building that is also warmed up by these solar hot water heaters. And all of a sudden, you know, early in the morning when people are like, oh, I don't want to get up, it's chilly, it's cold, you know, they have a well-lit, warm place to go where there's other people, and the day starts off really awesome. That sounds great. So that's the plan for this area right here. So essentially, and I've already started planting in here. See, there's no point in planting stuff in a location where we're going to dig it out anyway later. But I've, you know, planted like magueys. This will flower and die anyway. So I haven't screwed it up yet. And there's an open spot over here. So there's ways I can kind of dig all this out. Anyway, short term, make it comfortable. Long term, don't block opportunities to build something really cool here. And this will be all plaza on top, so that you actually make open area for seeing the lake and stuff, and you're not blocking the view of the lake with your building. I think it's brilliant. A lot of digging to do right here. I think I asked a question online about what kind of tools can we use for digging, because this is all manual work. I can't bring a bulldozer in here. I couldn't even bring one of those little bobcats in here. And there's lots of areas where if I had a small bobcat, I could do wonders, and I should have one. And probably buy rather than rent, because if I did have an income and enough money, that bobcat could be in use for a long time. It would be better to own a small bobcat than a bulldozer, because a bulldozer is just too large and destructive. And so probably it would be better to rent a bulldozer for bulldozer projects, of which I have many that I want to do. But a bobcat would be the right scale. Also, there's something called, I think it's the Global Eco Village Construction Kit, which is an open source set of designs. I don't know if the project is very active right now, but you know, you have a set of machines you create that can create other machines. One of those machines is a small Bobcat style bulldozer. And so that would be really exciting to work with people in Aronga, metal workers and stuff, to build an eco-village workshop. And I mentioned doing it off-site because I don't have the electricity here to support it. I don't have enough to get it going. So, I mean, we could try and conceive of it here, but I don't know. And a lot of the designs that that project has are not relevant to me. I don't want them. In general, when we can, we want to default to hand tools. So when we look at digging out this very rocky, hard earth, it's a challenge. It's a big challenge. You know, and I'm thinking things like poles that have a pole outside of it that you can smash into the dirt to get out of there, because we were digging in here and it's just tiring. I mean, the thousands and thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of hours of labor required to do some of these things is just too big. And I want to do it by hand because, well, in this case it's so slopey, I don't know another way to do it. But because it's a delicate way to do it. It's a way to be sensitive and not just smash it all. If I didn't want to do it by hand, I suppose I could get a big bulldozer in here and just dig the hell out of this and make a huge thing. And that would get the job done. It's tempting. But it's too easy to mess it up in this kind of case, and in other spots as well. Like Alicante has got to be done by hand. You know, and that's thousands of hours there. But that's the only way to do it in a sensitive way. So I think that completes the planning for the area right around the view. There's a spot I want to dig a little hut over there. Maybe I'll live in it because I want to hide out. When there's people here, I need a place to hide. But I probably shouldn't put that on video then. Anyway, that would be a kind of dug in, earth roof, tiny 2-room hut that I could work in, and nobody would be allowed to go there unless they were specially invited. Well, thanks for joining me for a ramble in the morning. I guess one advantage of being alone here is that I don't have anybody to talk to. And so it's also an opportunity to share some design thinking. And now I'm caffeinated. I feel more relaxed. Oh, sitting at the computer so long is not the right way to go. That's why I need people here, so that I have a real life, social life. Adios.